Icons of Real Estate, Oregon. Are you ready to learn from the real life experiences and the proven money making secrets of Oregon's top producers? If you're an ambitious real estate agent in Oregon ready to skyrocket your business, then this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Maureen Healy, licensed Oregon realtor. Tune in weekly where every guest will have a story to tell and tips to share to help you increase your own business. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO, and your all-inclusive real estate platform, Icons of Real Estate. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the Icons of Real Estate podcast. My name is Maureen Healy, and I am a licensed broker in Portland, Oregon area. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing Rebecca Donaldson. She is a senior broker with Realty One Group, Willamette Valley out of Salem. Thanks for joining us today, Rebecca. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I am doing well. I am very excited to speak to you today because I've been doing a little research behind the scenes on you before we spoke, and you have some super impressive credentials, and I can't wait to hear more about your journey in this crazy world of real estate.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. So I always like to start with a little bit of history. How long have you been a realtor? And if you did something different prior to this, what was it? Like what brought you into real estate?
Okay, yeah. I got licensed in December of 2015. That was my Christmas present to myself. And I hit the ground running in January of 2016, and I have been going ever since, nonstop.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
what did you do before?
Before that, I wore many hats. I have worked since I was 15. I started out as a dishwasher for a catering company when I was younger, and then I worked part-time for the Department of Transportation, the Federal Highway Administration here in Salem, Oregon. And I
Okay.
did that all through high school. And then
Really?
I
So you
did it.
worked for the Department of Transportation when you were in high school?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah. So
my
I
gosh,
worked
doing
20
what?
hours a week during school and then full-time during the summer. And then I worked there until probably I went to a community college for probably about a year or so, but honestly, I hated school, hated college. So after about, I don't know, probably a year after I graduated, I got hired on at Safe Corporation, and I worked there for 15 years.
What was the name of it?
Safe
Safe
Corporation,
Corporation.
SAIF, workers comp.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that was fun. I made a lot of great connections, a lot of great friends, and really enjoyed working there. And then, had a life come at me faster moment when my daughter was born. So from there, not quite a year after she was born, I ended up quitting my job at Save and became a stay-at-home mom. I taught myself medical transcription, and I did that for a while. And then I ended up working from home for a personal injury law firm where I became a case manager for a while. And then I got my real estate license.
Wow, that's quite a varied experience.
Yeah.
So what drew you into real estate?
Honestly, with my daughter, she has she had a life-threatening medical condition when she was born, and she ended up having a heart transplant when she was 10 weeks old.
Oh my gosh.
And I know, so she has kind of an amazing story. I mean, she's really my miracle kid. She's
Sounds
19 years old now, but she had so many appointments. I mean, there were years where she would have 50 different appointments, and I was, told multiple times either, quit or be fired. And so at that point, I decided that I needed to, take my fate into my own hands, and I became my own boss. I could set my own hours. I could work as much as I wanted to, needed to. So really, my daughter made me do it.
Well, it sounds like it worked out very, very well. So it was a good choice.
Love it. I honestly grew up in the industry.
Oh,
My
did you?
great grandparents and my grandparents, they were all real estate connoisseurs,
Oh,
Back in those days, that's what you did. You bought real estate. That's how you built your wealth. And nowadays people forget that.
yeah. A lot of
So
times.
yeah, I have a cousin that's licensed in California and Nevada, so I watched her doing it. I always remember she was much older than me, but I always remembered her, getting all dressed up and looking very pretty and getting on the tour bus and taking the bus around town and touring homes. I always thought that was cool. So I'm very much a social person, and I love helping people. So real estate is honestly, I love it.
Sounds like a natural fit. You have quite a few accolades, best of Willamette Valley, couple of years, and
Yeah.
#1 Homes for Heroes in Oregon. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about those awards?
Best of the Willamette Valley is really neat. This is the first year I actually didn't run for it. I just have too much on my plate right now, so I wasn't getting involved in it this year, unfortunately. But somebody nominated me for it. One of my clients did,
Oh,
and
that's
it
so
just
nice.
kind of snowballed from there. And I was, so honored to beat out, Matt Mahoney, who, has won it many, many years in a row.
Mm.
So what an accomplishment and what an honor, really, to be nominated by my clients and my peers for that.
That's definitely like one of the highest compliments you could get from a client. That's
Seriously.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. So pretty cool. I'm sure Matt will take it this year, darn it. But very cool.
You work with Homes for Heroes quite a bit.
Homes for Heroes, yes. I love Homes for Heroes. I got involved in that in 21. And I got involved because I was so disgusted with the debacle of our Afghan withdrawal. And we lost so many military people. And I'm a military person myself. My
Oh,
now
really?
ex-husband was special forces and was in the military for many years. My grandfather, I have a whole notebook full of old newspaper articles and things he accomplished when he was in the military. So I love our military, and I was looking for a way to be able to give back. And an ad came across my Facebook feed about 3 o'clock in the morning when I couldn't sleep. And I signed up for an 8 a.m. Meeting with them and signed up right away and went to work.
That is very cool. So for agents who may not have heard of this program, can you tell a little bit more about it and how they pair you with military, and what is it that you do? Do you do both buying and listing, or what kind of services do you provide?
Yeah, so it's listing and buying, but honestly, they're not a lead service, and they're very upfront with you about that. Every once in a while, you'll get a lead from them. They're not the best leads,
Mm,
but what it is it's for all military, every branch. So Coast Guard, National Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, our veterans. It's also for any healthcare professional
okay.
and teachers, all first responders.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
realize that. I thought it was military only. So good to
no,
know. Okay. I'm
yeah.
already learning from you.
Yeah, and they're the #1 Homes for Heroes nonprofit group throughout the nation. So they're nationwide.
Okay.
Um, and what it is I always interview my clients. I always ask them, what do you do for a living? Are you in any of these fields? And if they are and they qualify for the program, then when they list or buy with me, then once the transaction closes, 30% of my commission goes to Homes for Heroes. Out of that 30%, 0.7% of the purchase price is sent to the hero for as a reward check. So it's my way of saying thank you to them for their service.
That is fantastic. I did not realize that. I have heard of this program before, and I know a realtor, a good friend of mine up here that has been doing it for a few years, but I didn't know that a portion of the commission went back to the nonprofit, or that the actual client got something like that.
Yeah, so the client will get 0.7% of the purchase price. So it comes out of that 30%.
Okay.
Referral. It's called a referral fee, but they're not licensed brokers, so it's a reward check. But in Oregon, you can't give rewards, so we have to say donate.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
but it comes out of that money, and then the rest of it goes to the foundation to help other heroes in needs.
That is so fabulous.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
really
really
cool.
worthy cause, because in this line of work, we get to help a wide range of people from all walks of life. And if you can, give back in that way, that's pretty cool.
It's very cool. Yeah, I took out because you have to kind of figure out how to market that, how to get the word out about it. So I took out several billboards around my area, and signed up for a couple of different zip codes through Homes for Heroes, and worked it that way. So I helped 17 heroes last year, and I donated over $73,000
Wow.
to Homes for Heroes.
That is spectacular.
Yeah,
That's
so pretty
very cool.
cool.
Yeah, no wonder you're the best in the Willamette Valley. Can you tell me, what would you consider your superpowers when it comes to real estate and how you help your clients?
Well, honestly, I people think I'm crazy. Last year I did over 24 million in sales volume, and I did it
That's
by myself. I
incredible.
have no team.
That is
So
incredible.
I'm completely involved in the transaction from start to finish, whether you're selling with me or buying with me. I do all the negotiations, I do all the paperwork. So I think honestly that's my superpower. I can manage that workload on my own. I have systems in place for that. So I don't
That's
ever want to pass off a client. I don't want a buyer's agent to go handle my client, you know?
I'm kind of the same. I've always been a solo agent because of that reason. I think that,
Yeah.
the team structure can be valuable and helpful for training and learning, but it's just
Yeah.
something that I personally was never interested in. And I recognized pretty early on that people who are in that kind of format, the client does get passed along to multiple different people throughout the time. And I feel like that
Yeah.
that makes it really hard to create a consistent, trustworthy rapport.
Yeah, I've heard too many horror stories, and I myself have experienced it. You
Oh,
can't
really?
get a hold of the listing
Yeah.
agent. You have to go through the co-list, and it's like, okay, I can't get a hold of either one. What are we doing here? The
Right.
goal is sell the house, right?
Yes.
So that
Responsiveness is important.
exactly. Communication is key. Yeah.
It's the number one thing in this whole business. It astounds me when I have a hard time getting agents on the phone, or they don't return messages like at all.
It's terrible. And I was taught early on, like I said, I've worked since I was 15, but even early on before that, my stepdad had his own janitorial cleaning business. And I was the one answering the phone and filling out the phone message records. So I was taught from a very young age customer service. And then it was just instilled in me as I went through, working for the Department of Transportation and then at Safe Corporation all those years. And
Mm.
then as a paralegal and all that. So customer service has been a focus for me for many, many years.
That is, I think, how you become so successful, because if you don't have the client in mind first, then really what are you doing this job for?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And brokers need to understand that, we're human, we make mistakes, right? And you're always learning in real estate. And it's terrible when there's something going on in the transaction and you can't get a hold of the broker because they're like, oh crap, I screwed up. I
Mm.
don't want to, they don't want to admit it and they don't know how to work through it. So, for me, I'm always learning. So I'm the first one to call my client and go, hey, I screwed up. This is what happened, but this is what we can do to remedy the situation.
Sure.
So taking full responsibility too always helps.
I agree. And just being transparent and telling them right away, like, don't wait a week,
Yeah.
or two or
Don't make me
three
send that
or
termination over. We don't want to terminate. Work with me.
yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your systems and you said 24 million last year. That's pretty amazing for solo. How do you do that? And what is the maximum number of transactions that you juggle at any one time with that kind of volume?
Oh gosh, I think the most I have at any one time was 10 closings in a month without a transaction coordinator, just
That's a
me doing it
lot.
by myself. But I have systems in place.
Yeah.
So everybody has a file. I'm old school. I have paper files. My listings get a colored file. My buyers have just a plain vanilla file folder and everything is written on there and I carry them with me. If I'm in the middle of a transaction, that file is traveling with me everywhere.
I have sort of adopted similar. I do use an online, it's a CRM and transaction tracking software that I really like, actually. And I
Yeah.
can upload all the files to it and all the notes and everything like that. And the client gets like an automated timeline every time we pass a milestone. But I also am with you on the old school paper files, and I have those as well. And I have my clipboard and I have a paper calendar
Yep.
printout for like 3 months at a time where I track open houses and
Yes.
showings and everything on paper as well as online. And I carry that with me everywhere. And I make sure that I have extra paper on hand, because whenever I get a phone call, I'm very much a note taker,
Yep.
paper and pen.
Yep. I have a little notepad in my purse. I have one in my glove box. But we also have, we're all paperless. So we also have the paperless system too. So not only do I have a paper file, but I also have a folder on my desktop for each client.
Mhm.
And then everything from there is uploaded into the system for our principal broker to go through. But it's just being organized.
Have you gone through any sort of coaching programs or other, I don't know, coaching that helped you get your systems in place, or are your systems just what works for you?
I've been through coaching programs, yes, but this system is just something that I taught myself a long time ago. And then as I got into real estate, I started out at Windermere Pacific West Properties. They have amazing training there. And through that training, everybody's paperless these days, but I'm like, I need a folder. I got to take notes. When's the home inspection? When's that contingency up? When's the earnest money due? So for me, I just made it work.
I like that too, because when the phone rings, if I'm not near my computer on it at that very moment, I need all the information right in front of me.
Yeah.
So I agree. I
Yeah.
think that works pretty well.
Yeah. I love it.
Can you tell me a little bit about your specialties? I think I saw on your website that you do luxury, do you do also commercial?
I haven't quite gotten into commercial. I've helped some friends out with commercial stuff, but really not my area of expertise. I'll refer that out to, somebody that knows what they're doing, not afraid to learn. I always tell the client, hey, I don't do this. If you're on the journey with me and you're okay with me learning it as we go, let's go for it. But otherwise I refer it out. But my area of expertise is residential, luxury. I work with all types of clients, from anybody who's buying a manufactured home to tiny homes to, the multi-million dollar properties. I do quite a bit of land.
Oh,
There's a
really?
lot of brokers out there that don't know anything about septic and wells. I was fortunate to learn that very on. So I just love people and learning, and real estate is the best way to do that, really.
Well, if you're a broker that can handle anything from raw land and manufactured homes all the way up to luxury, you can do anything. I
Yeah.
know that there is a learning curve with raw land and a lot of important things to know about
Yes.
it, and
Yeah.
about well and septic and what kind of rights do you have, and if there's water rights and all sorts of things that people may not think of, or what is it zoned for. That's the probably biggest thing in land, wouldn't you say?
That and water rights. You nailed it right there. I sold my friend's property out in Sheridan in 21, into 21. And when he bought it from me, they had water rights. And so for negotiations, he didn't care about the water rights. So we gave those up. Now, further down the road, there was another person interested in selling. They loved my marketing. They watched all the videos I had done. They checked me out on social media, interviewed with them, and they had interviewed about 6 other brokers, but none of them looked to see if they had water rights.
Hmm.
And when they bought the property, they paid like 315,000 for it. Guess how much I sold it for 2 years later?
I would love to know.
$650,000.
My gosh.
Water rights are very, very lucrative, is the word.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's something that probably not a lot of agents are aware of.
They
And
just don't check. They get excited because they have a listing
yeah,
appointment, and they might pull some comps, but they don't look to see what it's zoned. They don't look for water rights. They don't do any of that. They don't look to see, can you put another building on the property? Can you build a second home or whatever? So this industry is hands-on, and you really have to, dive in and do your homework.
definitely. It's really good for people who like to do research and are
Yes.
resourceful in even knowing where to start.
Yeah. Like I have the cell phone number to our water rights guy, the water management person. So it's cool because there's lots of times I'm trying to navigate the water website and I can't figure it out. So I always just call him. He knows what
Mhm.
he's doing, and he likes to look and, wow, that does have water rights, So that's the best place to start, really.
It was so interesting because people who don't know a lot about details like this would probably just assume that it does, or why wouldn't it?
Or
Right.
that it doesn't. Yeah. I mean, that house I sold in Sheridan, it had been sold multiple times. Nobody ever brought up water rights. Nobody ever advertised it.
So
So,
interesting.
and that listing, that sale turned into another one for them. So they had 2 properties to sell. So I sold both of them.
That's the way
So
to do it.
yeah, know your stuff, people.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did quite a high volume last year. I'm assuming that maybe similar to what you do year to year. What were your goals going into 2023? Do you measure your goals in like a dollar amount volume or a number of transactions, or like how do you do
I
your
honestly
business?
don't count the transactions. I don't have time really. I'm very, very competitive. I always look to see, you know, who's number one in the office and what am I doing wrong? How did they get there and I'm not, you know? For me, I set a goal volume wise. Last year I wanted to do 25 million because the year before I only did not quite 17. The
Okay.
year before that I did 18.
Okay.
So
Still not
um
bad for solo agent.
no, not bad at all. I mean, last year was my best year ever in real estate. So um, I just set goals. I try to be realistic. This year, I'd like to hit 30 million. It's quite the challenge with what we have going on right now, but I'm staying busy consistently, so that's good.
So are you doing anything differently or more of what you were already doing to try to make that goal?
Honestly, it's just keeping in touch with the past clients, making sure everybody knows I am a Homes for Heroes specialist and what those categories are to make you qualify for that program.
Mhm.
And just, I'm basically, most of my work comes from referrals.
That's
So I
again
try
the
not to
highest compliment.
I don't do really too many lead services. Sometimes I'll run an ad on Facebook or something, but I had a podcast myself for a little while and ran some ads on a radio station. That was very helpful because I did Homes for Heroes ads. But
Okay.
other than that, it's just working your sphere, honestly.
Yes. And tell me about your podcast. I know I did see that on your website. It's called the REM podcast, Real
Yeah,
Estate,
the REM show.
the REM show.
Yeah, so the REM show stands for Real Estate Escrow and Mortgage. And it was myself and then another a lender. Actually, I had two lenders on there, but very interesting. So we would, go through all the data for the week and stats, and we would, just record. We go live on Facebook, and then we would stream it out to Spotify, Apple Podcast. I had it playing, airing on KSLM in Salem, so it would go on the radio as well every Saturday morning. So
Oh, that's helpful.
yeah, very helpful. Just talking real estate, answering questions about, current interest rates or first-time home buyer questions or what to do to prepare your home for sale. So every week was different, but hopefully educational. We had to press pause on it right now just because there's just too much going on.
It's good to be busy though.
Yes, good to be
That's a good
busy.
problem to have, right?
Yes, yes.
So, speaking of social media, what type of social media do you do and what platforms are you on? And with that, what has been the most beneficial or the best bang for your social media buck?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I mean, I have a LinkedIn account. I'm hardly ever posting on there. I have Facebook and, of course, Instagram. I'm on TikTok, which, people are like, get off of that, but whatever. My biggest following is on Instagram. I have 33,000 followers.
Oh, that's great.
So it's just learning how to make a reel and get it out there, push it out there. So, that algorithm's always changing. I'm currently enrolled in a class trying to figure out the newest, greatest, and best to try and grow my market that way. I always make sure that I am friends with my clients on social media.
Yes,
So if they haven't sent me a friend's request, I'm sending them one. So it's always important. That honestly, I feel staying top of mind is easiest through social media
I agree.
because
Yes.
people are always on there like hours a day.
They are. Now, are you doing video? Now, if you're not live streaming the podcast at this time, do you do videos of yourself? Because that is one thing I'm aspiring to, and I'm just a little shy and I don't want to do it, but I know that I need to do it. And I
I
saw it was
know
like
it's
a
hard, isn't
commercial.
it? It's
Yes,
hard.
it
Yeah.
is.
A couple of years ago, I was the dork outside of a listing going, hey, check me out. I got this house pending. I haven't done that for a while. I'm trying to get back into that. But honestly, I just got so busy that I didn't have time to, take 10 minutes to make that perfect video. And
Mhm.
it's so silly because, to me, I'm like, okay, my hair isn't combed or I don't have any makeup on or
Right.
whatever. I feel like I need to look perfect, but people want that authentic. look. They want that authenticity. So I'm trying to get back into that. Haven't quite done it yet, but I think that was very beneficial for me as well to get your face out there.
Definitely. Have you explored YouTube at all for that?
I have YouTube, yes. We used to push my podcast out to my YouTube channel as well. I just haven't been keeping up on it since I'm not doing my podcast.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a whole other full-time job
It really
to
does.
produce all this content that's constantly going out because, if you're not in front of people regularly, they kind of forget,
Yes.
right? It's
And
a lot.
it's hard. I had somebody managing my social media page, my Instagram page for about a year. And then I was like, I wasted so much money on that. Sometimes the content was really good. And then sometimes it was just, eh.
Mhm.
So,
I recently, I guess about a year ago, I signed up for an automatic posting social media platform for real estate, which is great because I don't have to think about it. It's like set it and forget it. But
yeah,
the part that I didn't do was going in and customizing it and previewing it and all this stuff. And so my engagement has been very low, and I get it. I know why, because I'm not
yeah,
even looking at it myself, right?
yeah.
So I'm going to discontinue that, but I'm like trying to hype myself up to be on video. But I've even had in the past a client, this was a few years back, but a client who's like, people want to see you.
Yes.
You need to be doing videos. You need to be showing yourself. You need to
Yeah.
be posting your selfies with, in
Yeah.
someone's beautiful living room, whatever. And I just am shy about
I
that.
finally went out and bought a gimbal, and I'm teaching myself how to use that because I'm the one that always just holds the phone and it might be crooked, but I did that for a long time. And then I got quite a few, clients just off of Facebook posts doing that.
Really.
Yeah. So even though I'm like, okay, I'm looking like a total dork, they don't care. They see you, they see what you're doing, they know you're working, they know what you're talking about. So I don't know. Ryan Serhant taught me that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes. And Ryan is from Million Dollar Listing.
Yeah, million
Right.
dollar list in New York. Yes.
What other kind of golden nuggets did you learn through him?
Oh gosh, he's so amazing. He's very humble, very kind, generous guy. But his whole thing is get up and work.
Mm-hmm.
you know, get up and do the job. I'm up every morning at 4:30.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I do everything from start to finish. And when I first started building my business, I'd get up at 4:30 and I'd go on that Keeping Current Matters, and I'd find something to post from there on social media. And then I discovered that, oh, I can set a schedule, and I would post all that out there. But my face was never on anything.
Right.
So, Ryan was like, get your face out there, start a podcast. And this was in 2020. I met him in 2020 when the pandemic first hit. So I met him, and that was honestly one of the biggest things was get your face out there. People want to see you,
I think
which
that's very true because there are thousands of realtors, many who have a lot of experience and many who are good, some who are also not so great. But
yeah,
for people to make a connection and feel like they have to like you, and
they do.
your personality has to come through in some way. And if we're not posting videos or photos of ourselves, how are we going to reach those people who don't know us?
Exactly. Yep. And he also, one of the other biggest things was think outside the box for marketing purposes. Be different. Don't be that boring billboard or, flyer that people send out. Be different. And so one of my first billboards was a play off of The Bachelor, where my face was on the billboard. I was holding a rose and it said The Realtor. So, caught a ton of people's attention.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Good
and now
idea.
it's springtime, so now I have marketing out there that says I'm so excited for the spring housing market. I wet my plants.
That
It
is awesome. Are you coming up with these on your own, or are you finding examples that you're using?
no, the realtor one, it was right after I came home from New York and the pandemic hit, everything was shut down, and I was like, oh shit, I got a family to take care of. What am I gonna do to keep going? And so I Googled billboards, and actually somebody that was on The Bachelor became a real estate agent, and he had that billboard.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I stole his idea and made it mine. But what my plants came from the lighter side of real estate.
Yes,
They
I
have that
enjoy
saying
that.
about wet your plants. Spring's coming, wet your plants. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make a billboard about that. And I mean, it's very tastefully done. I'm in my blazer and my jeans. I'm on the billboard, and I've got a row of tulips below me, and so it's very tastefully done. But it's being different. It's trying to grab people's attention. When I put that one up, I had builders calling me from Portland going, "Oh my God, I just about got in a car accident laughing at your billboard."
I was going to say, do you get a lot of contacts from the billboards? And do you do one or more than one?
Actually, I don't have any right now. I stopped all of that just because the market's getting crazy. And so I'm not sure where that's going. So I'm kind of laying low on that. But I had one, two, I probably at one time had 8 billboards in Salem,
Wow.
all static, the hard billboards. And then I did a bunch of digital ones up in the Portland area. I was on 217 in Greenberg, where
Uh-huh.
that exit is. Just as you go under the overpass, I had that Wet Your Plants billboard there for all of spring.
So what kind of marketing budget does it take for some kind of billboard program? I don't even
I
know.
got lucky in 2020. Everybody was pulling their billboards.
Wow.
Everybody was. And so one of the companies gave me 5 2-sided digital billboards in Portland, anywhere I wanted them for free for a year.
Wow. Well, that's a great deal.
So I got lucky. They loved my realtor billboard, and then I sent them the Wet My Plants, and they were like, okay, that's cool. So I was lucky, honestly. But once I started paying for all the other ones, I got some pretty good deals. I was able to negotiate them, but it was they're right around $1,000 a billboard, anywhere from 800 to $1,000 a board
A month? Is that monthly?
a month. Yeah.
Okay. Got
Just
it. I've just
depends.
never looked into that. I had no idea if it was like $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month or,
Yeah, because the one on 217 typically would be like 13 grand a month, and I got it for 3.
that is fantastic.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, why not?
So
Yeah.
you getting calls of people going, I saw your billboard and I need a
I got
realtor?
phone calls. I had a lender that I had done just a couple of deals with, and I put that billboard up, What My Plans, and he called me and he's like, "Did I just see you on 217?" And I'm like, "Sure did." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, we need to start working together." I'm like, "Send me some deals." So yeah, people would call me, people would send me messages on Facebook. So it was pretty fun.
That is so great. I think being creative like that and bringing humor into it is always a good thing.
Yeah, because I don't pay attention to billboards.
I mean, there's so many, they're everywhere.
There's
And
so many.
but if
Yeah.
you can make somebody laugh, they're going to remember.
Yes.
Plus, I
Yeah.
just feel like with all the negative things that are going on in the world, if you can be that spark in someone's day,
Yeah. You need
that
to be,
also can
yeah, let's have a little bit of fun with it, right?
definitely,
Yeah.
we all
So
need more fun.
we absolutely agree with you.
So, on the opposite side of fun, in your day to day realtor tasks, are there any like thorns in your side or tasks that you like your least favorite tasks? What would you say? You just things that you don't like to do.
My least favorite is probably having to draft up a termination when I can't get a hold of the other agent,
Yeah,
honestly.
that is
That's my
scary.
least favorite. I love all aspects of the real estate. I love the negotiation. I love learning. There is a ton to learn. You're never going to run out of things to learn in this
So
industry.
true.
My least favorite, honestly, are the non-communicative brokers.
Mhm. That does make it very, very hard to do the job,
It does. It's terrible. And especially if they're the listing agent, it's like, don't you want to sell that house? Because I got buyers here. We're ready to go.
right?
That's the hard part for me is the non-communicative brokers.
hmm I know it's so interesting. I just don't understand how people function like that and get deals done.
I think they're the ones who are married and they just kind of do it for fun. They're the part-time soccer mom and they're like, oh, it's my friend's house, whatever. I don't know. I don't
So
want to make excuses for them, but
have you noticed a difference in, say, like Portland area communication styles versus Salem or out in the more rural areas. 'Cause I've done a couple deals. I did one down in Lebanon. I've talked to people out at the coast, and they seem to have less of a sense of urgency, I would say, about getting things done. Do you
Yeah,
notice that
I
in
think
different areas?
I think the coastal people have less of a sense because I think those houses, to me, they sit longer. I just joined the MLS over there because I had a listing
Mm.
that I put in there. But to me, they were just like, whatever.
It's a vacation town.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but down in, I have a listing down in Lebanon right now, and I'm having a difficult time with the buyer's agent.
Mm.
So it's like she canceled the appraisal because an issue came up on inspection, and the appraiser's like, well, she told the lender she's back in negotiations, and I'm like, I haven't heard from her,
Wow.
not one phone call. So I call her and I'm like, hey, just had the appraisal cancel, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I didn't know how to tell you, but there's this issue. And I'm like, it's okay, we were aware of that issue when we bought it.
Oh my goodness. And how are you supposed to talk about it and work it out if they don't bring you the issue?
It's crazy. I don't know. I mean, the one thing about our current market is it's going to weed out a lot of these brokers.
That's
So,
true.
and lenders.
I agree.
Yeah. So, looking forward to it.
Yes, yes.
More
Um,
business for us.
what what do you like to do outside of real estate? I mean, obviously you're very busy if you're handling that volume by yourself, but you must have some downtime. What do you like to do with it?
It just depends, honestly. During the winter months when it's gross and gloomy out, my daughter and I will, I love hanging out with my daughter. She's 19 now.
Fun.
So we hang out quite a bit, but normally we'll just kind of like hunker down. I love to cook and entertain. So
Okay.
we either, have people over or we, watch something sexy like Yellowstone or 1923 or,
Uh-huh.
when it's nice and sunny out, our favorite thing to do is we go for drives. My daughter and I will go for drives every night and we'll pick a new spot to watch the sunset in.
Oh, that's great. That's a really good memory maker with your
Yeah.
daughter.
When she was little, I used to do it all the time and she would get so annoyed with me, like, oh my God, why are you doing that? And then one day she's like, Mom, stop. That's a perfect spot to watch it. So I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. So
That's such a good idea because that's something that she will remember forever.
forever.
That's something
Yeah.
my mom and I did together all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Love
it was
that.
super nice out yesterday. She's like, "Let's go for a drive. The sun's gonna set in 30 minutes." And I'm like, "Let's go." So, yeah, that's my favorite, honestly, thing to do.
That
We
is
don't really
wonderful.
travel too much. Our next destination will be Nashville. We're looking forward to traveling over there and checking out
Fun.
Nashville, so that will be fun. Yeah, but
Okay.
vacations, the goal is to create a life and a job that you don't need a vacation from, and
Mhm.
I've kind of done that. So
Lucky position to be in for sure. But it
yes.
doesn't come down to luck. It comes down to your skill and dedication.
A lot of hard work. I work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I haven't had a vacation since before I started real estate, so 7 years ago.
Mm.
Even when I was in New York with Ryan Serhant, I was working. So,
Do you have any like self-care routine that you do, like getting a massage once a month or any like any little indulgences like that?
I don't like people touching me. So,
Okay, so
no,
no
I get
massage.
I get grossed out by that. If I don't know you, get away. I self-care for me is shooting my guns. I'll go to the shooting range, or I'll go out to the woods and fire off my weapons. I do have my concealed carry for Oregon and Utah, so there's a
Okay.
lot of crazy people out here. So I do make sure I'm protected that way. I, do the nails, pedicure. I love a good pedicure once a month. That foot massage is amazing. So that's about it for self-care for me. Hair, nails, pedicure.
Well, speaking of the firearms, that brings up a good point about realtor safety, which is something that I haven't touched on in any of the podcasts that I've hosted so far.
Oh yeah.
But have you ever had a need to use it or let somebody know that you had it?
I haven't had a reason to use it yet, knock on wood.
That's good.
Um, but I do carry. There was a couple of times when I had my license hung at Elite Real Estate, which I love. That brokerage, they're amazing. But we had some issues, and so we had, a code word in place. So if
Mm.
something was going on, somebody could call the office and say, hey, can you bring the red key to, I'm at this address or whatever. I haven't had a reason to use it, but it's always good to have, something in place, whether it's a firearm, pepper spray, whatever.
Absolutely. I've been
Yeah.
fortunate enough not to have to defend myself in any situation like that, but I came in and early on in my career from the investing perspective. That was
Yeah.
what my favorite thing in the world was. And I have gone into houses where there have been squatters, and that's scary.
That is scary. Yeah. I always make sure that, if I haven't met you for the first time, I always make sure that you're pre-approved. I'm never meeting somebody on a whim. I don't care how desperate I am for a deal. I'm going to make somebody, talk to you, pull your credit, get all your information. I have had somebody in the past call me off of one of my magazines I was on. And he was like, hey, I'm at this, my parents want to sell their house. They live out in Silverton. This is the address. I drove by it. And at that time I had a business partner and I sent him the information and the guy started leaving me really weird voicemails.
Hmm.
And so we ended up, actually, my partner ended up calling both MLSs and saying, hey, this guy's a creeper. And they had to put a bulletin out about him because he
Really?
was trying to get real estate women to meet him at vacant houses.
That is scary. And from time to time, I see that, in various real estate realtor groups and our masters of real estate on Facebook and things like that. And I
Yeah.
always am careful. There was a time a year or two ago when I had a kind of a more rural listing, and there was somebody who was going around to rural listings,
Yep.
and it can be scary.
It can be scary. I always make sure that if I'm going to do an open house, especially out in the rural area, I always make sure there's a lender that can go with me.
That's a
So I have
great
a
idea.
couple different lenders I've worked with hand in hand, and I'm like, hey, I want to do an open house here. Are you available? If they're not available, I probably won't do it.
Hmm.
Or make sure you always have an exit strategy.
Yes.
I didn't learn about bringing a lender with me until, a couple years ago when I was first working and hosting other brokers open houses.
Mhm.
I was, by myself. So it's good to have an exit strategy, have a plan in place, carry some pepper spray, carry something.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Follow your gut. I'm never going down into a basement with someone because they want me to come and show them something. Uh-uh. Even if you're showing a client a house and you get a weird feeling, excuse yourself, take your phone and go, I'm sorry, I've got to go make a phone call.
Hmm.
There's
Stand
nothing
by the
wrong with it.
door or out on the porch or something.
Yeah, follow your gut. It's always right.
Absolutely, better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Well, and with our app right now, our Century Lock app, we have the ability to set up the emergency device on that. So that's nice.
Yes, I think that is really helpful. Sometimes I forget to turn it off.
I've done that a couple of
So,
times and I'm like, sorry.
I know I'll get a text from my partner. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine. I
Hmm.
just forgot." Luckily, it's never been a true emergency,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is a good feature to have in place.
It is a very good feature to have in place. Yeah. So it's so important.
Do you do any community activities or philanthropy aside from the Homes for Heroes, or any sort of like client programs or anything like that?
I do client events
Okay.
once a year. One of my lenders that I work with, we do a Christmas event every year for past clients. When we sell Christmas trees, we have Santa Claus out there and
Fun.
hot cocoa, and he's got a snow machine. And so, we really make it fun. He's got an indoor soccer field. So we kind of do events out there and make it fun. But sometimes we'll do like first time home buyer events if people are interested. But honestly, it just depends on how busy we get.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Have you found the first time homebuyer events that you have done, were those were in person, not on Zoom, correct?
Correct. In person.
Do you
Nobody
get a good
showed.
turnout?
No, nobody showed up.
No. Yeah,
um,
that's the thing. I've thought about doing them many times, and I years ago I did do one, and it was an in-person one, and nobody showed up, and then I just haven't gone back to it. But every year I think, oh, I'm gonna start doing that, and
yeah,
I'm just not sure about. I guess if it comes down to the advertising of it and the marketing of it, doing
it's
enough.
hard. Yeah, we did my Homes for Heroes lender. I have one that I work hand in hand with. And we did a Homes for Heroes event at one of our local golf courses.
Mm.
I had gotten several Homes for Heroes listings in this specific neighborhood, and we were like, let's do an event because we had a ton of people coming to the open houses asking questions about it. So let's throw an event at the golf course at the clubhouse.
Nothing.
My past client showed up for it.
Oh,
That was it. And here we are marketing, we've got, our great friends at KSLM, love them. We made flyers and they were running flyers to all the local businesses,
oh my
that they're
goodness.
affiliated with. And we had it advertised on the radio, but it was such a beautiful day out that, people would rather golf than come sit in a clubhouse and listen to us boring real estate brokers and lenders. So
Sure.
it's hard though, because you spend all your time and you invest your money on that stuff and then nobody shows go. It's kind of disheartening, but you have to keep going.
Yes. Some things work, some things don't, and you just pivot, keep going, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Never giving up.
Never give up.
Well, I would like to thank you so much for taking the time to be here
Yeah.
today.
My
And
pleasure. Thank you.
yeah, since this is an agent to agent podcast, what would be your best piece of advice for either a brand new agent or somebody like myself who I do a decent business, but I would like to double my volume? What would you say is most important?
I would just say keep going. Get a schedule in place. For me, I listen to motivational speeches in the morning. If I'm not listening to Ryan Serhant on YouTube, I'm listening to somebody else on Spotify. You gotta keep going. I get up every morning and I write my gratitudes.
Mm.
This is definitely a hard industry. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to fall on your face. You're going to fail. You're going to have maybe a business partner and then you're not. So it's very hard. It's very difficult, but know your worth, know your value, know what you're talking about when you go on these appointments. And honestly, just put yourself out there and keep going. It'll happen. It's a snowball effect.
It is. It is. There's a lot of seed planting and waiting for them to bloom, right?
It's so true. It really is. So you just have to keep going.
Okay. And if anybody would like to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you or find you on social media?
Yeah, you can call me. My direct line's 503-269-0747. I'm on Facebook as Rebecca Donaldson. I'm on Instagram as Rebecca Donaldson, the realtor, I think. You can email me at Rebecca@rogwv.com. My website is rebeccasgothouses.com. You can find me on there too. So any method works.
Okay, great. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming today and thank our listeners, and hopefully they will learn a lot from everything that you've shared today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, you're welcome.